welcome back to episode 3 of Rebooking, the WWF 1992. We have plenty of new talent, and we're going to be getting rid of a lot of talent, and that's the first thing that we're going to talk about. So, I am not going to be cutting any of the guys that I'm referencing that we're going to be letting their contracts expire. I'm pretty sure that if we try to do that, well, I guess we could, but we're still, either way, we're paying the full amount of their monthly contracts. So like Mel Phillips, for instance, we're not going to re-up him for a variety of reasons. And his monthly contract is $5,000, so we're still having to pay just over $4,000. So this is what I did right before recording. We have, in total, 12 guys that we're going to be releasing between January 5th through, I believe it's around mid-May. And I guess I could just show the schedule of expires. So as you see, we can just look at the various contracts and when they expire within, I believe, a year. So, yeah, like January 1st of 93 is when Nasty Boys Bret Hart, obviously we're not going to get rid of Bret, but you get the idea. So, basically, Mel Phillips is with us through all of January. So, January 31st, his contract expires, and we're not going to be dealing with him any longer. So, just here's a rundown. I'm not going to scroll all the way through. I guess I need to, though, for the date of the final one that we're worrying about, which is the Warlord. So basically from now through May 17th, this is a rough idea of all the guys that we're going to be allowing their contracts to expire. We got Mel Phillips for $5,000. We have Jimmy Snuka, who's making just over $20,000 at 24. Kato at $9,000. Or no, I'm sorry, $7,000. Tanaka is at $9,000. Hercules is at $1,000. Plus he gets 1% of the gate for every show that he's booked on. Colonel Mustafa at $12,000 a month, and that would be Iron Sheik. General Adnan at $3,000. Nikolai Volkov at $9,000. Dino Bravo is only making $1,000 a month with 1% of the gate, or I guess like 0.5% of pay-per-view revenue, but we won't have to worry about any of that. The Barbarian at $15,000, Greg Valentine at $19,200, and Warlord making $20,000. So in total, that brings us to $121,600 monthly that we would be getting off the books gradually through May. Now we've signed 9 guys, so our roster, so to say, I guess our roster is a little bloated at the moment. So we've got Waltman, also known as Lightning Kid, at $5,000. John Layfield at $5,000. Stevie Ray and Booker T, both making $5,500. Steve Armstrong at $9,000. Samu at $12,000. Fatu at $15,000. Tracy Smothers at $20,000, and Del Wilkes, the Patriot, at $20,000, which brings us to $97,000. Now, I feel like that is well worth it, as we're getting rid of aging stars and we're getting significantly younger, and as we're rotating guys out, the likes of Snuka and Hercules, Volkov, Bravo, Barbarian, Valentine, and Warlord, amongst all the other guys, are going to be doing the jobs, whether it be house shows, TVs, whatever the case is. We're not going to be using them in a manner of getting pushed. Now, that doesn't mean that in the future we won't use them on a one-off appearance or pay-per appearance. Like Jimmy Snuka, I mean, I'm sure we could use him randomly on a house show or whatever the case is, a TV show, but we don't need to be paying him $20,000. You look at it by comparison, and I'm sure this will change if it's, he's not under contract, but he's making just under $1,300 per appearance in addition to the per month. So if we get rid of that, let's say this goes up to 1,500, and we use him 2 or 3 times. I mean, we're still way below what we're automatically giving him on a monthly basis. So now, of course, we haven't had Nelson Frazier, which is Mabel, or Bobby Horn, which is Mo, officially accept contracts. So we're probably looking at about 115-ish, I would imagine, a rough estimate for what we have going out with releases, and then what we would be having coming in at the moment. And I'm not worried about the expense aspect of it at all, by any means. I think we're going to be making enough money to not have it really bother us. All right. Now, here's another thing that I've been wanting to do. Just as I've been noticing booking the shows, we don't really have a lot of enhancement guys. And if we're getting rid of Cato, for instance, and Volkov, that's going to diminish us even more. Stevie Ray is obviously not going to be an enhancement guy for a long time, if at all. Same thing with Booker T. So we're going to have to probably hire some guys to be our enhancement. And obviously right here, AC Connor, which is D'Lo Brown, we can just do an informal agreement. We're not going to give you any of the gate. And then we can just kind of go from there. And he quickly accepted that offer now, didn't he? Okay, so he's going to be one of our new enhancement guys at $100 a month. Or, excuse me, per appearance. We're not going to be taking complete advantage of these guys. See, now I would do Al Snow, but I feel like there's better value in him than an enhancement guy, so I don't want to do that quite yet. I didn't really go through. I should have gone through this before starting the recording and making a list. Now we could do BG James, which is Brian Armstrong, and officially have him associated. I mean, he is associated with the USWA, so we don't need to have him directly signed to us. So I guess that doesn't really matter, because that's what I've been doing as well, is paying attention to who's in the USWA, and we might have used them on either this episode or next episode. Either way, one of them on one of the recordings, they definitely appear. Here's Bill Irwin. Now, my buddy Austin, who hosts the world-class retrospective podcast covering, obviously, world-class championship wrestling, not only has he recently interviewed Bill Irwin in 2025, but upon seeing the signings that I've made, suggested that I sign Bill Irwin for that group. And admittedly, I had kind of figured, well, I probably should sign Bill Irwin, even if it was just as an enhancement guy. But if I were to have him as part of a group with Layfield, it'd be Layfield, and it would be, I guess, Steve Armstrong. I mean, I ideally wouldn't have Tracy Smothers in it. Because it kind of feels like it'd be a heel group, but maybe not. Steve Armstrong certainly kind of comes across as a babyface to me anyway. But all right, so Bill, he would be doing like $350. I don't think I would need to sign him to a written contract, and not for $9,000. So this would probably be fine. I mean, if he were to be signed by another company to a written contract, I don't think that would necessarily bother me all that much. But we're not, again, I don't want to give out gates. You know, we're doing enough as it is. So I'm going to put him down as enhancement just for now. And we'll leave him as a heel. Maybe he won't even take the offer because he wanted to be, I think it was a mid-carder. It's probably a pretty bad demotion for him. But yeah, let's see if he will take that. Okay, that was good. So we got Bill Irwin. So I'll add Bill, but since he's not on a monthly agreement, he is technically signed. Same thing with who would be known as D'Lo, but we're leave him as such for right now. AC Connor. Like Billy Joe Travis is another guy that is in USWA, so there's not really a need, I feel like, to directly sign him to a pay per appearance. Same thing with Bob Holly. I don't know if we'll necessarily use him in a enhancement role. I really don't want to go through all this right this second, and nor do we really need to. I could easily just do this separately, and then make a note of it on another episode. But that was like, okay, well, Glenn Ruth we could do. Obviously, I mean, he's a guy that would eventually become the headbanger, so we can just kind of use him there. I think we need more heel. I mean, it doesn't really matter. They're just mindless enhancement guys. I mean, let's look at it real quick. Our enhancement talents. Obviously, Jim Duggan is not a enhancement talent, so that'd be funny. All right, so AC Connor is a face. That's what is. I'm sure it's just. I mean, that was probably just the default, and we can just change that. Again, nor does it matter. But just for my sanity and how I look at the booking sheets, I kind of like to even it out a little bit. AC Connor is a face. Hardy's a heel. Horowitz is a heel. Irwin a heel. Bobby Blaze or Schmedley is a face. Booker's a heel. Brian Lee's a heel. Gill's a heel. Brunzell's a face. Powers is a face. Cato's a heel. Spicoli's a face. Volkov a face. Riggins and Taylor are both faces. Waltman's a face. Ray heel. Berserker heel. Brawler heel. And Von Kruss is a heel. Okay, so we could probably do Glenn Ruth as a... We're going to keep him as a heel. We're not. See, I almost made that a written contract, and I would have been not happy with myself. We got to slow down sometimes. Indefinite, yeah, that should be fine. Now, we can also probably just grab Chaz as well as a heel. Yep. And we're going to do... You know what? I didn't even realize I could do a written for a shorter amount of time. But I don't want to do that for 5. We don't need to do that. Okay, so do that. Informal, that should be pretty good. Okay, so we got a couple more guys there. Candido. Now, I have obviously Brian Lee, but I kind of see value in him as more of an enhancement guy. In fact, I really liked the team of Brian Lee and Chris Candido and Smoky Mountain. And I'm inclined to potentially have them in the WWF at some point with Tammy. Now, you look at the star power here. So Brian Lee is at 68. And then Candido is at 68. But if you go with Tammy, she's at 75. And obviously she's gorgeous. So, and entertainment's through the roof. So if she were to be the talking piece, I think we could have a lot of fun with it. In 1992 WWF. She doesn't really become relevant until 94, I want to say, with Smoky Mountain. And the promos are pretty rough. But it doesn't really matter to us, right? We can do whatever we want. Carl Ouellette is a guy that we probably at some point need to sign. And he's pretty cheap, really, if you look at it. $8,000. It's kind of in the middle of some other guys that we have acquired. With the idea, of course, being that he would associate with the Mountie at some point. But we're not necessarily in a rush again for any of that. We could just do an informal. But yeah, I mean, hopefully he doesn't get signed by a rival company for extended period of time. I don't really know off the top of my head if there's really anybody else in terms of enhancements. Sure, signing Eddie Guerrero would be just great. But we're bloating our roster as it is. Is there probably room for him? I am pretty confident I could figure something out. But we also want to kind of maybe keep to the era, the bigger guys. And of course, I say that as I'm looking at Sean Waltman's name on a piece of paper that I've just signed. But Waltman, or the Lightning Kid, yeah, sure, he's under contract for $5,000, but we're going to be using him in the role in which he started off as, and that's an enhancement talent. And it's probably better off to have him with a written contract because we're going to be using him significantly for an extended period of time. And we have him for, I believe, a few years at that rate to begin with. Here's another guy that we could use, Jason Knight. He was a regular enhancement worker. And the thing that's great with these guys is that they're not very expensive. And we can fill out the shows on Superstars and Wrestling Challenge. Now, as we'll see in the next episode, Primetime Wrestling is going to be, I guess, a little heavier with feature matches. And again, with a kind of bloated roster, it should be pretty easy to accomplish that on a regular basis. Of course, there's going to be instances in which we are going to need to have enhancement matches on that show, but I'm not overly worried about it. Here's Balls Mahoney, and we're just going to make him a enhancement guy, babyface enhancement. There's a lot of names that we could kind of snatch up. I feel like we got to get through probably through June to kind of see where we're at. Potentially bring in the likes of Kamala, Bam Bam Bigelow. I just saw like Lance Storm, right? That would be fun. I enjoy Lance Storm, the whole Canadian gimmick. I'm actually wearing a Lance Storm WCW t-shirt right now. Cost me $75 off eBay. Well worth the purchase. Held up pretty well since 2000, 25 years. All right, I don't know if there is really anybody. Well, Perry Saturn we could use as an enhancement. Yeah, 120. Give me a break. That's nothing. Yeah, he'd definitely be a babyface for us as a enhancement. So we'll do that. Peter Polacco is a heel because he allegedly is scamming fans still. So nobody likes that. So we'll make that offer at $100. He accepted that. Okay, I think we're shoring up our enhancements pretty well. And of course, again, we have guys in Smoky Mountain and the USWA that we can obviously use. I could probably just grab Steve Dahl too, which means I need to get Rex King for another tag team. Their heels. Enhancement. $400. He's kind of an expensive enhancement talent. Yep. Okay, so that means let's just get Rex, which is technically well done. Here, heel, and then we'll go enhancement. I'm now wondering if I should have done Glenn and Chaz as babyfaces. That doesn't matter. We can just change that. I think really at any point it doesn't impact anything. Okay, let's go to our roster. And again, this is not accurate because they are not enhancement talents. Okay, yeah, that's, I feel like, a lot better. Because again, we're losing at least, let's see, 1, 2, well, at least 2 of them or leaving us at some point. Yeah, so that's fine. We should be all right. Berserker might be gone too, but and again, and another thing, it's obviously just informal agreements. There's nothing set in stone for a monthly, which is probably better for us. All right, we have 2 shows today: Wrestling Challenge and another live event. So let's look at Wrestling Challenge. This is our show. It runs exactly 45 minutes is what we have booked. We'll run down here. So let's go through this, and then we're going to see how it translates amongst the fans. So ever since the first house show that we did, where Bret Hart and Rick Martel apparently had a 4.5-star match, I thought, why not give Rick Martel a title shot? So I looked it up, and he in fact had departed the company in April of 91 and then worked Japan at the end of 91. So we're going to play into that, where Martel has returned, and he was a little upset about the disrespect of competing in a blindfold match. After all, a hood covering his face. I mean, that's the moneymaker, right? So he went to Japan, did a tour, and WWF President Jack Tunney contacted him expressing he was so impressed by Martel's skill in Japan. So he enticed Martel to return with the WWF so that he would get a WWF Intercontinental Championship opportunity for the Royal Rumble. So Martel is gunning for Hitman's title, and he's going to remind the fans and show Hitman that he's not only the most handsome man, but he's a better wrestler than the Hitman as well. Of course, you can do his accent accordingly for that segment. Then we're going to go with Virgil defeating Von Kress with a Russian leg sweep. That's 5-minute segments. I guess for enhancement, I'm going to try to put them at 5 minutes. That way it actually garners a crowd reaction. We're going to test that out for here, because I was doing 3 minutes, and then it was like, oh, it wasn't long enough for fans to care either way. So Repo Man defeating Louis Spicolli. And quite honestly, I don't remember what Repo's finishing hold is. I think it's like a power slam or something. I'd have to double check it. I could click on edit right now, but we're going through the show, so it doesn't matter. He just beats Louis Spicolli. Tatanka cuts a promo. He's going to be in the 1992 Royal Rumble, and he's going to try his absolute best to make his tribe proud and become the WWF World Champion. Pretty simple babyface promo by the books. El Matador, Tito Santana. He's going to defeat Barry Horowitz in 5 minutes with the flying forearm smash. I've noticed myself in these booking meetings with my team of just about myself. I like El Matador. There's something about Tito. I like booking him. I like putting him on the shows because it seems like he just has quality outings. So that might be a guy we keep an eye on for pushing him. I think there's value in Tito, whether it be putting over younger talent or maybe getting one last run. I think in real life he doesn't depart the WWF until shortly after WrestleMania 9. And he still looked pretty good at WrestleMania 9. So I think there's a lot we can do with Tito. Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million champion, the $1 Million Man, also cut a promo regarding the 1992 Royal Rumble, and he's vying for the WWF World Championship. He notes that he did, in fact, he won the title, a few years ago, 4 years ago. And as a result of getting the title, in his eyes, illegally taken from him, he purchased his own title. But you know what? While he cherishes the $1 Million Championship, he's always wanted the WWF World Championship. And as we all know, what Ted DiBiase wants, he gets. And he wants the WWF World Championship. So will Ted DiBiase realize his dream, his $1 Million dream, and win the 1992 Royal Rumble? I guess we're going to have to find out now, aren't we? The Undertaker. I believe this is his first appearance for us. On television, at least. He defeated Bobby Blaze. Or Bob Schmedley. That's a simple enhancement tombstone. I know I said 5 minutes for squashes, but I mean, Undertaker could probably take care of business in 3, even with entrances. So if it's like an absolute dominant performance, like Undertaker or Sid, or like, I guess any kind of top name, you know, if for whatever reason we booked Hulk Hogan on the Wrestling Challenge, and it's like a squash, I mean, he'll probably do it in like 3 minutes. Maybe the other ones where they go 5, like here with Barry, maybe Barry got offense for a minute, you know, something along those lines. Undertaker, Tombstone, pretty simple. All right, Roddy Piper. He is tired of the quote-unquote real world champion. Of course, that's in reference to Ric Flair. He's tired of hearing Ric Flair claim to be the real world's champion and how Flair caused the WWF World Championship to be vacated at the end of 1991 with his antics. Piper considers Flair to be a real phony, whether it be his dyed hair or his whitened teeth. Flair is a fraud. Wherever he was world champion before, it was a fraud. Until you are competing at the top in the WWF, it meant nothing. And Piper tells Gene that the Hot Rod has always been at the top in the WWF, and he challenges Flair to meet Hot Rod in the ring now. Yeah, we're throwing a little bit of a cheap shot at WCW. Okay. But this promo is certainly leading, ideally, and I don't mind, you know, giving an idea of what we're going to do in the future. That's the whole point of these videos, is kind of tease you, like, hey, this is where we're going to go. As you're watching, you're probably thinking, hey, what are we doing here? This is not a Royal Rumble match, Piper and Flair. So don't get like, oh, hey, it's going to happen in 2 weeks' time. No. The end game, if we can get there, is going to be Piper and Flair at WrestleMania 8. So get your pencils out. Okay? Or get your pens, right? There you go. I wish I could do that sound effect without actually having to click my pen, but I can't. Mania 8. So I think that would be kind of the first tease of what we're getting. Now, of course, we have these guys working the house shows. Kind of the point of these promos, right? Is you want to build to your house shows where these guys are going to be trading wins and losses. But your major blow-off, ideally, is going to be WrestleMania 8. WWF Intercontinental Champion Bret Hart defeating Barry Hardy. It's a non-title match. That's why you don't see the Intercontinental title up in here anywhere. He's going to be Barry Hardy's submission with the sharpshooter right in the middle of the ring. And, of course, that kind of ties into what we had with Rick Martel up top. No, there's not going to be any kind of sneak attack or anything. We've already addressed it. We don't need to have Martel come out and beat him up at all either. And our final promo of the show, I feel like, you know, it's pretty strong promo-wise. We have Martel, DiBiase, Piper, now Shawn. Shawn Michaels is going to cut a promo saying he's gotten rid of the dead weight in reference to Marty Jannetty. And he's going to start off his singles career by winning the WWF World Championship at the Royal Rumble and skyrocket to the top of popularity. And he also, of course, kind of throws a jab in there saying, you know, he'd meet Jannetty in the Rumble, but, well, Jannetty can't make it there because he shattered his face through a glass window. Our main event for Wrestling Challenge is going to be the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, defeating Dino Bravo in about 6 minutes with the tornado punch, the discus punch. You know, seems like a pretty decent featured match, right, for Wrestling Challenge. We don't have to worry about using a major star or anything like that. And, of course, Bravo is on our list for departing us. I'm sure he's here until middle of April. But if we can get the rub off of Dino onto any of these other younger stars as they enter the company, it seems like a pretty, like a no-brainer, right? Now, our arena is the Stockton Arena in California. The capacity is just over 11. It says our potential attendance is 20 grand. I mean, I feel guilty booking this show in the Stockton Arena. But, I mean, it's a game. So, if we can get away with using this talent, these segments for a 45-minute show and still make some money, what are we doing, right? Just because I have some maybe business morals, I'm not going to book a 4,000 seater and not make as much money, right? All right, let's start the show. Let's see how these segments and matches translate for the live audience and the TV audience. Confirm. Here we go. All right. 79% for Rick Martel. That's good. Okay, so we got a little bit of a bump up for Martel. That's good. I think that's, we don't have him in the angle sheet, the storylines to bump him up because it's only going to be a couple weeks. I feel like the whole storyline part when we do that is for the extended ones that you really get the blow off. This is only going to be like a 2-week thing. So, all right, Virgil picking up the win, a negative star. All right, well, Virgil's not a great worker, so that's to be expected. Now, unfortunately, I love Virgil. Virgil's the first wrestler I ever had any interaction with at a Kmart. I think it was either 94 or 95, but he was just sitting there showing footage from WrestleMania 8, and he signed my figure with a washable marker, and then about 10 minutes later, I proceeded to wipe it off because I still wanted to use the action figure. But a match here with Von Krause, not great. It's actually pretty horrible, I guess. The crowd doesn't really care. And then, yeah, okay, so you put them all together, 43%. Moving along. Repo Man in Louis Spicolli, getting a 1.5 stars. That's actually pretty big. Spicolli getting doing some good bumping. So Louis is probably going to be one of our better babyface bumpers as enhancement talent. Same thing with Sean Waltman, I would imagine. So good to see that Repo Man was able to get to a little decent match here. And Repo Man was made to look like a threat, so that helped his popularity. Interesting. Keep an eye on that. There are some plans maybe for Repo Man. I don't know about anything like championship-wise, but I think there are some storylines that we could get to that WWF never even really, I guess, thought of to do. So, Tatanka, his promo about the 1992 Royal Rumble, 82%. His level of popularity went up very little, but productive, not bad. El Matador and Barry Horowitz getting 2.5. Okay, this is what I like to see. This the crowd, not horribly excited about it, but we're over 50% and 60 overall. Horowitz doing a pretty good sell job. Huge effort by Tito, and his popularity goes a little bit while Horowitz goes down. That does not bother me because again, he's just an enhancement guy. All right. See, there's a reason. I mean, we're getting 2.5 on just an enhancement match from Tito. And the huge efforts. Oh, man, I think I got to push him. Ted DiBiase, pretty good promo, if I do say so myself. Got a little bit of a bump up, 0.2%. 85 total, so that's good. The Undertaker and Bobby Blaze. Now, okay, it's official. So it was 3 minutes, right? And it was too short. So we have to go 5 if we want it to be, I guess, a good match. We don't care about this not being a good match. The Undertaker is going to dominate and move on with his life. And he went up 0.5. So that, I think, is pretty good. That is the whole point. So this does not matter. That right here does. So Tombstone, Splat, 1, 2, 3. Move on. All right, Piper. Great segment, 91%. Of course, he's going to go up a little bit. Flair and Perfect, just by extension alone, are going to go up. So that's good quality. Everybody benefits from that. And, of course, it's going to drive our house shows. Bret Hart, 2-star match with Barry Hardy. Barry Hardy could have put in a little bit more effort. Okay, so he's a little disgruntled. A bit more time. Could have had a better match, but that doesn't matter. We gave them 4 minutes. So I bet you if we gave them 1 more minute, it would have been a little bit better, but that's okay. 2 stars. Good outing for Bret Hart. Shawn Michaels. Now, this is interesting because Shawn Michaels went up a little bit. And then the cheap shot towards Jannetty. So we're getting Jannetty to go up. 0.3. Now, we are keeping Jannetty off television for a decent amount of time. So if we continue this and we gradually raise up his popularity, that return is going to be fantastic. So get Shawn Michaels carrying his weight on the promo side. And in our main event, crowd interest is higher than I think anything else on the show. It's 64%, match-wise. Half a star. And, yeah, Dino could have put more effort. Well, he probably knows he's not going to be sticking around. And Tornado's popularity goes up 0.3. Right, so in the show, we actually lost popularity on this show. That's not good. 74% for the entire program. All right, that's not too bad, right? That's okay. Now, obviously, so this show is all set, and I think the next screen was, in fact, the live event. So I guess we can just go right into it, right? Because we have to anyway, because we have 2 shows on the same day. So let's do it. This is our live event. We're going to start off with Shawn Michaels defeating El Matador, Tito Santana, 12 minutes. I'm hoping that this is a pretty good match. Texas Tornado is going to defeat Repo Man in about 8 minutes with the discus punch. And then our tag team main event is going to see Jake Roberts teaming up with The Undertaker to take on Randy Savage and Sid Justice. Now, of course, Roberts is going to remind the fans that he has blatantly told them to not trust him. But can Savage trust Sid tonight? And vice versa. And, of course, that brings out both Sid and Savage, who declare they are on the same page. And that page is kicking Roberts and Taker's butts tonight. But casting doubt, you never know. Can they trust each other? Erwin R. Shyster is going to defeat Superfly Jimmy Snuka with a right-off clothesline in about 10 minutes. The Legion of Doom will retain the tag team titles against the Barbarian and the Berserker. Now you're probably wondering, well, why didn't I just do Powers of Pain with the Warlord and the Barbarian? It's a good question. Simply I didn't care enough to do that. And besides, I wanted Warlord to lose to Bossman again in 8 minutes with the sidewalk slam. The Natural Disasters are going to defeat the Bushwhackers in about 11 minutes with the Quake Splash. British Bulldog will defeat Haku in 10 minutes with the running power slam. Intercontinental Champion Bret Hart defeating the Mountie in 10 minutes. In the main event of Sid Justice and the Macho Man Randy Savage defeating Jake the Snake Roberts and The Undertaker. Now, you're wondering who's eating the pinfall here. Well, we're going to have Jake take the pinfall loss. Now, I want to say I've said, we're going to avoid doing countouts and DQs as much as we can. I think originally I had this as a disqualification win for Sid and Randy Savage to kind of like protect Roberts and Undertaker. But if this was a TV show, I think I'm doing that. Whether it be a primetime show or a Saturday night's main event, whatever the case is. Yeah, I mean, we could probably do a DQ, but on a house show where the attendance is about $5,000, there's no cameras. We're just trying to give a good show. I mean, we could probably avoid doing that, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to try our best to not have to do BS finishes. Nobody wants to go to a live event and get just a BS finish. You want some satisfaction. So that's what we're going to try to do. Again, TV might be different. We might be in a situation where you want a title match with a contender, but we don't want the contender to lose clean, whatever the case is. But we're going to try very hard to avoid doing that. All right, that is our show. That is the rundown for the show. What do you think is going to be the best match on the show? I would have to think it's going to be Michaels and Tito. Admittedly, I don't like the mid card doesn't look all that strong. Uh, but I think, once we get a lot of the guys we've signed kind of involved, and we cycle through the guys we're getting rid of, these undercards are going to be a lot stronger. And then when I kind of go into more of a deep dive with all the workers, I mean, I love like Eddie Guerrero, obviously, and Lance Storm and all those guys. And this is a creative series, but you kind of want to keep some realism to it. Now, like in WCW, if somebody were to be released before their contract ends, let's say a Steve Austin or a Dustin Rhodes, of course we're going to sign those guys. Another free agent, for instance, is Steve Regal. And I think he would fit in wonderfully in this era of WWF. So, I mean, I'll have to more kind of look into that and certainly kind of play with this game with advanced booking to see how long I can bring them in. I've already brought in 9 guys, and none of them have even debuted. I don't think we're going to start any vignettes for the new talents until after the Royal Rumble, and then kind of gradually introduce a variety of guys. Now, do I know which ones I'm going to do first? Probably not. That I'm not sure of, but we'll figure that out. All right, this show is taking place in Augusta, Richmond, at the Civic Center. I'm keeping it relatively in the same area as they ran in real life. I think they ran the Omni in real life, but I didn't want the cost, quite frankly, of the Omni in this game. I mean, we're spending almost $100,000 in wages, and I think the Omni was like easily double this. The capacity is a little bit more than potential. So let's see how the show reacts to the live crowd in Augusta. All right, Sean and Tito, they were aiming to steal the show, so they upped their game. We got 2.5 stars. Tito kind of went down a little bit, but that's fine. That's okay. Huge effort. So the unimportant show, I mean, that's okay. It doesn't really... This sentence does not bother me. 59%, that's okay. I can't make every show important. I mean, house shows are not important to really the storylines of the show, so it's okay. Texas Tornado and Repo Man got half. They worked pretty decent though together. So, okay, that's actually probably better than I expected it to go, even like with crowd reaction. Big tag match tonight. Macho Man went down a little bit. 82%. Maybe thought that would be a little higher, but that's okay. IRS and Snuka, -0.5. We are crushing it with the work rate for our undercards for house shows. We are just crushing. 41% match quality. Fantastic. I mean, if you've ever seen an IRS match, this fits, right? The extended abdominal stretches, headlocks, punches. There's really nothing exciting from Irwin. I think the most exciting thing about Irwin Archeister is when the crowd chants Irwin. And then Snuka, he's about 65 years old. That's not true, but you get the idea. I mean, this is... we're just utilizing Snuka's iconic presence, I guess, to maybe give a rub to Irwin. And that did not impact anything. So, continue on. We get a big old dud, right, for LOD defeating Barbarian and Berserker. But look at the crowd reaction. Crowd loved it because they love the LOD. Doomsday Device, 1, 2, 3. Good. Animal got a little bit of a bump up. All right. Not bad. Dud. Again, we're crushing it with the undercards. Sean and Tito was good. Repo in Texas Tornado, not good. Irwin and Snuka, not good. And then this was not good. But the crowd is apparently loving it. 70% is pretty good. So, and I'm not giving that to Barbarian and Berserker. That would be LOD. All right, Bossman and Warlord. Warlord clearly upset about losing again. Yeah, negative half stars, 61%. Bossman's another guy that we're going to be keeping our eyes on for potential pushes here in the future. So like Tito and Bossman, even with the influx of talent, I think we could use them better than they had been before. Natural Disasters and the Bushwhackers, we're not in the negatives. We got a half star, 62%. And putting over the Disasters for the most part here with the splash. Kind of probably in the same boat as the Beverly Brothers for a slower build. And I don't know if I'm going to keep them. Not that I don't know. I doubt that we're going to keep the Natural Disasters as a heel tag team. I think we got some plans. There's going to be kind of a shift. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that Jimmy Hart manages, I think at this rate, 3 heel tag teams. That's a bit much, right? So somebody has to be sacrificed or probably a little bit pissed off with some decisions that are going to be made. So let's keep an eye on that development. And the next one we have here is the British Bulldog and Haku. 1 star, 61% running power slam for Bulldog gets it done. Not much really for that. Hitman and the Mountie get us to 2.5 stars. The Sharpshooter, Mountie, just the visual of the Mountie screaming in pain and submitting. Pretty middle of the road for crowd being invested, but that's okay. The main event, the crowd was loving it, of course, and you got half a star. Match quality, we're obviously sacrificing match quality for a lot of these house shows, and just kind of hoping the crowd enjoys it more than having fantastic wrestling matches. There you go. Sid got a little bit of a bump up from the pin on Jake. Okay, so that's probably, just in terms of crowd interaction and enjoyment, the match of the night, right? Yeah, it's not even that close. 69%. So Augusta probably not thrilled with our decisions there, or just overall enjoyment. All right, our popularity is plummeting. Went from 79 to 78.7. So we lost a little bit, all off of one show. So we got to keep an eye on that. We don't want to be dipping too far. Let's go to our mail. Oh, look at that. Mabel has accepted our offer, so he'll be getting $5,000 for sure with a signing bonus. So that's 10, and then each appearance is $200. We're gonna finalize that contract. Same thing with Mo. Well, he's 150. We're not gonna tell him that Mabel's getting a little bit more. All right, Wrestling Challenge and the WWF Live combined sold just over 11,000 tickets. That's going to net us just under $665,000. Almost $7,000 goes to the gate share. All right, this is our first promise. Oh no, I just saw another thing here. Oh boy, guys, this is rough. Okay, hey Bob, this is Ted DiBiase. He wants to work with Piper before February 6th. Well, let's see here. Rejecting the promise will upset the worker. Accepting the promise will make the worker happy. If you accept and meet the promise, the worker will be happy. If you accept and fail, then he's going to be furious. Okay, so this is where the house shows really come in handy. He wants to do it before February 6th. We can do that before February 6th. So we're going to accept that promise. Promotional wars. Okay, so we're not as cool as WCW. That seems like a crock. Production, obviously, we're going to beat them there. Show quality, hey, we won that one. Roster, we are smoking in there. Roster, the best wrestling skill, we're just a little bit ahead. Entertaining, best looking roster. Okay. I feel like we kind of have the better bodies there, but whatever. Popularity, we're way ahead of them. Total score 6-2. All right. Let's look at these. Let's look at these developments. I should have known, especially this guy. All right, Spicoli. Oh no. Spicoli failed the drug test. As an employer, you must make the decision how to handle this. Soft drugs, yep. Hard drugs, you betcha. Oh man, what are our options here? Oh, okay, we have plenty of options. Okay, so now Spicoli is a enhancement talent. This is the first time I think I've ever had to deal with this. Talk calmly. Have a calm discussion about how this behavior is not acceptable in the company. Last chance. Speak sternly to the worker. This will not happen again, or else. I'm not going to threaten the guy. Rehab. We could force it. Small fine. Medium fine. 30-day suspension. 90. Fire him. Okay. How do we handle this? He's an enhancement guy, so I feel like talk calmly. You're like, hey, man, you want to have a job, like, for us, with a written contract? Like, let's be smart. It's also 1992 WWF. I don't think we're going to go too crazy. Oh, my gosh. Okay, good talk. All right, Louie, I better not see you on this ever again. Marty Jannetty. Same thing. Soft drugs and hard drugs. Oh, I'm not going to... Okay, we're going to... I think just talking to him is... Okay, good talk. All right. All right, Jake is just... Jake is just straight up hard drugs, so it looks like he's on crack. So yeah, no steroids. I'd almost rather just be steroids, but hard drugs. He's not doing pot. He's doing something bad. All right. Again, we're gonna do that. Okay, good talk. All right, guys, good talks. They're not gonna do it again, right? There's no way that we're gonna see Jake Roberts, Louis Spicoli, or Marty Jannetty in this ever again. Right? There's just no way. I didn't think so. Let's look at our finances. All right, we are in the green for $6 million already, so that's not bad. And I think we can go to our... What am I looking for? Event history is okay. So our other show was Wrestling Challenge. So yeah, that's at 11,000. We saw our gates there. So, okay. All right. Well, that wraps up episode 2 of Rebooking the WWF. It's not really ending on a high note. Yeah, sure, we got Mabel and Mo. But frickin' Spicoli, Jannetty, and Jake Roberts are all doing heavy drugs. Hard drugs for all three. The soft drugs, I don't care. Pot, whatever. More power to you. Right? I'm not going to get mad. When we're doing crack, or who knows what, for the hard drugs. Cocaine. I'm assuming that's considered a hard drug. I don't know. I don't do drugs. That's not fun. That's not good. So hopefully these guys do not ruin our plans, because I'm not going to change anything. You know, if a guy gets hurt, we're going to have to figure it out. If a guy freaking has a major drug problem, we're going to have to suspend them or something. You know, we're going to have to do... I'm not going to be the guy that's just like ignoring it and then saying, hey, man, this is what we got to do. I mean, if I can ignore it till after pay-per-view, maybe, if that were to line up, but I don't really want to do that. All right, well, speaking of suspensions, let's look at our news real quick. Scott Levy, he was suspended recently, and I wonder what for. I'm assuming it should tell us. If we can maybe just do it to go to his actual page. Okay, it looks like it doesn't tell us exactly what it was. All right, I'm going to assume that with our drug tests, it was also drug tests for Scott Levy, excuse me. His contract is up January 1. If this guy has drug problems too, though, I don't know if we can sign him should the time come. All right, our next episode is going to be focusing on primetime wrestling and another house show. And then we are getting closer and closer to the Royal Rumble. We are 13 days in game, just under 2 weeks away from crowning a new WWF World Champion. So be sure to come back and find out what happens on the first prime time wrestling episode of 1992.